Good evening, Missouri City. I'm your Mayor, Robin Ellicott. Storm Nicholas is yet another example of how hurricane and tropical storms are unpredictable. During yesterday's news conference, we warned residents about street flooding and heavy rainfall. However, Hurricane Nicholas made its way here. Missouri City was hit with more wind than rain, which is what caused the power outages and the property damages that we have heard this morning. We are so grateful that this storm did not cause any major impacts to Missouri City, but it's yet another reminder for us to be even more prepared in this season. Today, council members and staff members have received more numerous inquiries from the community, and that's why we're here again, sharing some of the essential responses and recovery updates with our citizens, businesses, and stakeholders. As of 10 a.m. today, all non-emergency facilities resumed normal operations, and city staff is working hard to assist citizens and businesses in need. The municipal solid waste provider, GFL, Environmental had delayed a start today, but they were able to complete all trash services pickups. However, their officials informed us that they were not able to finish the pickups in subdivisions such as Brightwater, Plantation Park, Plantation Creek, and Lexington Colony. These sections will be all serviced tomorrow. For more detail, residents may contact GFL customer service directly at 281-403-5800. Staff is also working with GFL to schedule debris pickup through important dates, which will be posted on the city's outlets a little later. Also, if you or someone you know has internet connectivity issues, Comcast announced today that its Xfinity Wi-Fi hotspots throughout the greater Houston area are available to anyone who needs to use them, including non-Comcast customers. So for non-Comcast customers, please search Xfinity Wi-Fi network name in the list of available networks and follow the on-screen prompts. Now we'll hear from our District B Council Member Jeffrey Boney, followed by, we have our Emergency Management Coordinator, Tramika Jewett, and then our Police Chief, Mike Berzan, and Director of Public Works, Shashi Kumar, and we'll address any questions that you may have. I know that some of you are still without power this evening, so if you are watching this broadcast, please go ahead and enter your questions in the comment sections so we can try to get those answers for you. If not, please reach out to us at the general number, which is 281-403-8700, which is a non-emergency number for any questions that we can answer. So now I'll welcome Councilmember Boney.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Missouri City staff. Hello, neighbors. I am Councilmember Jeffrey L. Boney, District B of Missouri City. I want to say that I'm very glad that we were spared last night from the predicted torrential rainfall that was originally forecasted for first tropical storm, now Hurricane Nicholas. I'm very, very thankful that our area only received minimal impacts. We're here today to reassure citizens that the city is here for you and your family through this recovery effort. And we want to share some very, very important updates. Before we get into those, I want to say thank you to all of the individuals who reached out, whether it's through Nextdoor or through various social media channels to inform us of the updates and the information that you were facing relative to power outages and damage to your property or anything relative to potential rain. First update is relative to the Recreation and Tennis Center. It reopened at noon today, 12 noon today, and it will continue normal business operations on tomorrow. The Quail Valley Golf Course and the Bluebonnet Grill will resume operations on tomorrow morning. Fort Bend ISD is still assessing the damages to all of their schools and their facilities that were affected by the storm, including power outages. Their officials will make a determination later this evening on whether or not tomorrow's classes will be canceled. Houston Independent School District, they will resume all in-person and virtual classes on tomorrow, and all schools and facilities are scheduled to be open. All Fort Bend County libraries are open today and will continue forth. Houston Community College will have all of its campuses reopened on tomorrow and will have regular operational hours. Home Depot has normal operating hours, and they notified the public that they have a shortage of generators in stock. So please be leery of that. Kroger has normal operating hours and has essential items in stock for purchase. H-E-B has normal operating hours and has water and other essential items in stock. However, their stores are experiencing a shortage of lunch meat and Lunchables. Metro is slowly resuming all of their operations. For more details or to book a ride on the MCTX Community Connector, please call 713-739-3823. Again, to book a ride or to find out more details from for Metro, the MCTX Community Connector, call 713-739-3823. Thank you all for your time. Our prayers are with you, and please remember, we are here for the community, and if anyone, and I mean anyone, needs assistance, please feel free to reach out to the city at 281-403-8500. Again, that's 281-403-8500. Thank you.
Next, we'll have our Emergency Management Coordinator, Jamaica Jewett, and she's going to talk to you about some power outage issues and so forth. So if you have a question for Tramika, myself, Councilmember Boney, or Chief Barazan, please go ahead and write those in the comments. Tramika?
Good evening. Currently, emergency response operations for Hurricane Nicholas are starting to wind down, but the ELC will remain at a level 3 increased readiness in support of COVID-19 operations. Currently in Missouri City, 4.4% of CenterPoint customers, which is 1,367 households, and Missouri City are currently without power. CenterPoint has informed us that they are working diligently and bringing on additional staff to assist with getting the power back on across the city. Currently, all COVID-19 testing sites and vaccination sites are back to normal operations. Please contact Fort Bend County Public Health to schedule an appointment or to reschedule your appointment if it was canceled due to severe weather. And also, just as a reminder, even though we are in the last few days of summer, hurricane season does not end until November 30th. So please remember to make a plan. If you have a plan, review it with your family members. And if you used any of your items in your emergency kit, such as food items, remember to restock those just in case we need to pull that out again. And just to reiterate what the mayor stated, we are currently working with GFL to identify dates for debris pickup around the city. So just pay attention to our communication outlets as we'll have those dates posted as soon as we have those confirmed. Thank you.
Next, we have our Police Chief, Mike Barazan.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Missouri City. I'll give you a brief recap on the activities of your police department during the event. The majority of our calls didn't actually start picking up related to the storm until about 3 o'clock in the morning, and the majority of those calls were alarms, either residential or commercial alarms. I'm certain caused by the wind. None of them turned out to be what we would call actual alarms due to some type of forced entry. All of it was that we encountered were weather related. I will tell you that during the entire duration of the event, your police officers stayed on duty and on the street patrolling all the neighborhoods and commercial districts and other business properties throughout the city. They responded to 82 calls for service last night. 49 of those were processed through dispatch. The other 33 were self-initiated activities to include reporting downed trees, identified power outages, traffic signal outages and malfunctions, as well as assisting the fire department, who answered 21 incidents last night, and those incidents were also processed through the 911 emergency center, including 6 medical calls and 1 structure fire. So your police and fire departments were quite busy throughout the duration of the event, but I promise you they were out there where they were needed to be and ready to answer the call. So although we're thankful this wasn't the rain event that it was projected to be, because the storm clearly took a little southerly turn there, went south below our city, more so than it was projected. It was really nice. It'd been nice if we avoided the wind, but just be reassured, Missouri City, that your first responders were prepared and ready to react, and they did. So again, thank you for your cooperation, and this is a nice practice run for something more serious. Let's hope that we don't see anything more serious. So thank you, Mayor.
Next, before we have our Director of Public Works, Shashi Kumar, come up and talk to you about his, we did receive sort of a letter from CenterPoint talking about the power. So I'd like to bring back Councilmember Boney to briefly talk about that.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to give an update based off of recent information given to us by CenterPoint Energy relative to the Hurricane Nicholas response. According to CenterPoint Energy, power was restored to nearly 300,000 customers in less than 12 hours since the hurricane's landfall. Also, the natural gas system in Houston, in the greater Houston area, is performing well, and the system assessment is almost completed. And lastly, they're asking that all customers of CenterPoint please be extremely patient, and they appreciate your patience as they work to restore service as safely and as quickly as possible. Thank you very much.
Can I get Shashi Kumar?
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Missouri City residents. I'm your Director of Public Works and City Engineer. I'm here to provide you an update on Public Works infrastructure and operations. As the Mayor alluded to, the impacts were not major, and we were able to, or will be able to quickly bounce back. In terms of what was the nature of call that Public Works responded, we had trees down, we had some signs down, and the most significant, I would say, was 9 of our signalized intersections lost power. Obviously, the backup generators went up, and or the battery backups went up, and in those instances where we needed to put generators, we were able to quickly bounce on and put those generators. And those locations were on Texas Parkway, and significantly enough, there were about 6 locations along the Sienna Parkway corridor. That's where I understand a lot of the power outages happened, but I'm happy to report that -1 location, all those signalized locations have power, and they are performing excellent. Now, in terms of the barricades, and again, this was more a wind event. Citywide average, we had less than about 3 inches of rainfall. So this was not a flooding event. This was more due to the winds. So the need for putting barricades or road closures was not necessary during this event. Our Animal Services Department was manned 24 hours. We're happy to report that normal hours have been restored at Animal Services. In terms of the city-managed water and wastewater plant, we did have power outage at our regional surface water plant. We planned, and the generators functioned as it was designed to. There was no disruption to potable water supplies. There have been some minor issues on communication side. Those are being worked on. As of my last report, the surface water plant was still being run through generators. The city's wastewater plants did perform well, and we have no issues in terms of sanitary sewer overflows or anything of that sort. I want to reiterate that we were able to bounce back and pretty much resume normal operations because of our planning that went into it. The Public Works crew were positioned here by the City Hall complexes, and they attended to traffic signal outages or any calls which required generator backup very expeditiously. And I would commend my Public Works team that responded expeditiously, as well as other city departments that worked very diligently to plan for this event. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Just to go back and just reemphasize, so what everybody talked about, Missouri City had not too much of an impact due to this storm, but, we're aware of the fact that power was the issue throughout certain subdivisions, and I know that it's still going on. As Councilmember Boney alluded to, that they are working to get power back as soon as possible. So if you're still concerned, I think earlier today that the City of Missouri City website, along with their Facebook page, have shared how you can track, with your address, the power, where you're at with your neighborhood. You can put in your zip code or your address, and then should be able to get that information. And we're going to go ahead and work with our fire department and our emergency operations center to work with Jamaica and that team to continue to put out what percentage of Missouri cities without power. So we're going to go ahead and follow that process. If you have any questions towards trash, debris collection, or any of that, contact our general number so this way we can get back to you. But as of now, what we're gathered here today from all the departments is that we're back open fully for businesses. So if we have any questions, we'll go ahead and take that now.
Yes, sir. Mayor Ellicott, we have a few questions for Tramika. Hi, Tramika.
Good evening.
Yesterday, the city was in response mode. Today, the city is in recovery mode. Can you explain to the viewers the difference in the two?
In emergency management, we have separate phases. One phase is response, as mentioned, where we're responding to the emergency. After that, we then transition to recovery, where we make sure our city recovers from that emergency or disaster. During that phase, we start looking at things such as debris management plans, which we are looking into right now, and we start looking into ways we can better improve city operations. So we will look at how we responded and everything we did during this disaster and learn from it to see how we can better prepare the city and better respond to the city and for future disasters or emergencies.
Speaking of debris removal, can you give viewers an insight into what homeowners or business owners who have downed fences, branches, tree limbs should be doing at this time, and what's to come over the next couple of weeks?
So currently, we are working with our waste management provider to come up with a debris management plan. At this time, once it's developed, we will push out the details of how to place your items out and what to do with your items so that it can be picked up. Right now, you want to start removing that debris and start cutting it off, and you can still put it at your curb at this time, but just make sure to pay attention to city outlets so that you can see the dates and the details once we get all of those confirmed.
Thank you. And what telephone number should residents and businesses call if they have an issue or concern about debris removal?
So at this time, you can call the main number from Missouri City, 281-403-8500, and they will forward you to the correct person. So if you have any questions, you can contact our main number.
What level of activation is the city's Emergency Operations Center at currently?
Our Emergency Operations Center is currently at a level 3, which is increased readiness. We are in level 3 in support of COVID-19 operations at this time.
The area still has light rains and some slight winds. Can you talk a little bit about the forecast for the rest of the week?
In the forecast, we do have rain later this week in the forecast, but it's not projected to be severe. We will have good weather, thankfully, for the remainder of this week with a little rain in the forecast, but nothing will lead to flooding or severe weather that's projected at this time.
If your power is out and you can't track outages online, is there a phone number residents can call?
You'll need to reach out to Centerpoint.
There is a number. We'll get that.
We'll have the number posted and we'll send it out on our communication outlets at the time.
Thank you. Are there places that residents or businesses can drop off debris from the storm?
At this time, it's recommended just let's keep the debris at your household right now, and we will have a provider come pick it up from your location under our contract with our waste management company.
We know at this time how many emergency incidents our police and fire teams responded to last night?
Fire. 211. At this time, fire responded to 21 incidents at this time. And PD?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chief.
Yeah, fire responded to 21 incidents, one motor vehicle accident, 6 medical calls, 1 structure fire, and 6 alarms. Police department did not respond to any emergencies associated with the storm. Unfortunately, we did have a DWI arrest during all this, but we responded to 82 different calls for service during the duration of the storm.
And since we have both Chief of Police and our Fire Emergency Manager here, how are the city's first responders doing?
Oh, we conducted normal operations. Actually, everything else was slower for us. The storm picked up some different activities than we normally have, but thankfully our citizens heeded our call to stay indoors, so there wasn't as much traffic on the roadways, so that cut down a lot of the need for normal policing services. So that was very nice, and again, thank you, Missouri City, for doing that.
And with our fire department, we did bring on a few additional staff over the night, and they were able to assist us with what we consider called damage assessments, going around the city and seeing what we had damages so that we can track those damages at this time.
And can you both briefly talk about, I know we touched on this yesterday, but now with the tree limbs, the trees, and also the debris, the importance of the roads being clear and how that helps with public safety responses?
Yeah, yesterday evening, I know at least 3 of the speakers that spoke during the press conference asked for everyone to try to park either in their garages or in their driveways because the water, and I know our Public Works Director also spoke of it, that the water by design, or when the rains do come, the water is conveyed through the roadways to get out of the neighborhoods and out of our communities into the sewer and storm systems. So by people not leaving their trash cans or parking their vehicles in the roadway and moving them on the driveway, in the event that this had been a true water event, those practices or those extra steps would have certainly helped us. Thankfully, this wasn't a water event. I did a survey of the city first thing this morning when I got here, and I did notice that most of the vehicles that would normally be parked on the roadway were actually parked in driveways or in garages. So again, Missouri City, thank you for doing that. It also helped our first responders in the middle of the night, because if there was debris blocking the roadway in addition to vehicles and other trash receptacles or anything such as that, it would have hampered our response efforts even more. So again, thank you, Missouri City, for heeding our call to do that.
And one last question, Tramika, and Chief, you can speak to this as well if you would like to. We have what are called Joint Information Center calls with our partner agencies on an ongoing basis, especially during emergency crises like this. Can you talk a little bit about those discussions that are taking place during the recovery phase?
So during disasters, we like to have a similar message going out across the region. Our Joint Information Center calls pushes those messages so that everyone knows what everyone's saying in each city, so that we're pushing similar messaging at that time, which is similar to a lot of the items that we have discussed at our press conferences this week.
Thank you both for all you do. Mr. Kumar?
As he's coming up here, let me share that number with you. For the center point, it's 713-207-2222. Number is 713-207-2222 for central point. If you still don't have power and you don't have access to online or internet services, you can call that number.
Is Public Works assisting with any of the debris pickup and removal around the city? And if so, what does that look like?
I think we are, as and when Public Works receives a call, our focus has been on clearing the right-of-ways, or roadways where there is debris or tree limbs. We are focused on that. If a citizen calls any of the numbers that has been mentioned before, if you see something that's blocking a roadway, please do call us, and the Public Works crews will respond and clear those debris.
What are Public Works crews doing tonight during this recovery phase?
Our crews spent the whole night manning streets and being prepared for this event. There are not positions in the facilities tonight. Fortunately, they got a break and they all left home just very recently.
As Mayor Ellicott and Councilmember Boney stated in their remarks, usually when we have an event like this, our waterways are impacted. That did not occur this time. Was there any impact in any way with erosion or anything that citizens need to be aware of, that the city needs notification of?
I think I want to reiterate the message that the police chief said. I think our citizens listened to what the Public Works and other officials said during impending flooding situation, and this applies to regular day rain or flooding events. Please avoid parking on the streets, park on high ground, do not drive under streets that are ponded, and most importantly, I think our emergency management coordinator did mention that we're not done with the hurricane season. It's still the end of November. A typical flood insurance policy does not cover flood insurance. City is a participant in the National Flood Insurance Program. On top of that, we are what we call a community rating system community, which entails our citizens getting reduced premiums on flood insurance. So I strongly encourage you to have a flood insurance policy as protection from potential flooding, property losses, and things like that. I do have one. I strongly encourage you to get one as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, sir. We have a couple of reminders and one thank you. Thank you so much to Comcast as well. They are helping the city restore service that was lost for some of our staff. And so we're very grateful for them to reaching out to us early this morning and helping us to get those services back online. As well, we want to remind everyone that there are some HOAs and community events that are being rescheduled, some HOA meetings and some community events. If you want to share that information with the city, please call 281-403-8533. That's 281-403-8533 and ask for Kelly Mott. And also, as Tramika mentioned, it's National Preparedness Month. Get prepared. And Councilmember Boney mentioned that there are a plethora of outlets that citizens can find information on. We talked about www.missouricitytx.gov. That's the city's main web presence. We also have www.missouricityready.com. That's our emergency management website. The city's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Missouri City TX and Twitter EM, Nextdoor, LinkedIn. So a lot of different places you can find information as well.
Good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. If we don't, before I close, I'm going to have Councilmember Boney come up and say a few words, and then we'll close. We have no other questions.
I just want to close out by thanking the citizens of Missouri City for trusting Missouri City as far as our staff and our leadership here. We have an amazing staff here in Missouri City that keeps us safe, that makes sure that we're prepared and is very responsive. And so I want to thank them publicly for all the work that they do day in and day out, especially during times like these. These types of natural disasters and these emergencies, when they do arrive and they come, preparedness is key. And so we're always wanting to make sure that we're doing the very, very best we can to find out what lessons we need to learn. So we're going to definitely do that, as Tramika mentioned earlier, that we're going to step back, take a look at everything that we did in preparation of this, how we responded to it, and make sure we're prepared even more so for any other future natural disasters or emergencies that are coming our way. So there's going to be a FAQ that we're going to seek to put together that we'll distribute to the community to ensure that you guys are very familiar with what it is that we are doing to stay prepared, as well as how to prepare for future storms and potential natural disasters or emergencies. So stay tuned for that. And I just want to thank again all of the individuals who reached out through social media next door and other outlets to inform us and give us an update. I know that when it's real time and you're in the midst of the situation, it's very, very difficult to sometimes be patient because you want your situation resolved. But we are behind the scenes working. The city doesn't always handle things relative to water or flooding or power, but we try to work collaboratively with those entities that do, like Centerpoint and the MUDs, et cetera. So thank you so much for your patience, and thank you, city staff, for all that you all do regularly. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor Ellicott, we have one more important announcement about a community event. Tomorrow, we will host the District C and D Town Hall at 6:30 p.m. at the Quail Valley City Center in the Magnolia Ballroom. That's District C and D Town Hall meeting tomorrow, 6:30 p.m., Magnolia Ballroom, Quail Valley City Center. Any questions? 281-403-8533.
Sure. Well, thank you. As I close, I just wanted to get that number from Jamaica one more time. What percentage of that number now without power in Missouri City? Was that 13 or 12? 4.4%. So just so everyone know that only 4.4% of the people in residents of Missouri City that are not with power as we speak. And that could have been changed because we got this number a little while back. But we are working hard to get that. Want to thank Councilmember Boney, Tramika, and Chief Berzan and Shashi Kumar for working so hard from yesterday onwards and staying on top of this storm and making sure that we as a city departments are doing everything we can to bring you the right information, the correct information, even though we put all this information out there on the social media outlets. And I get it, as someone told me earlier today, that what do you do when you don't have power? You can't watch this or your battery dies on your phone. So we're hoping that through these live video streams, at least your neighbors or your friends or whoever it is that can reach out to you, because the only proper way for us to connect with you is either through Facebook, social media, Instagram, and Facebook and all other sources. But again, I want to thank our citizens. As Chief have talked about, stay off the road. And also I heard Shashi say the same thing. We weathered this storm, but as I talked about yesterday, we have, 70 some more days to go. So we're hoping to have a zero event for Missouri City. But again, I don't predict the weather, so we can't control any of the situation. But Missouri City, we are Missouri City strong. We are Missouri City proud, especially with our citizens and with our employees that we have here. We are going to come in front of you as we move forward to bring you the live updates. I want to commend these gentlemen and people that are here working as staff, taking their time. They could have been at home right now, but they're here at the city doing everything we can to make sure that our citizens are alert and are aware of what's happening with the city. Once again, if there are no other questions, we will go ahead and end this. We will not have another live conference as we are resumed back to normalcy. So until then, we want to thank you for your time. And if you do have any more questions that you are watching this later on tonight or what have you, please contact us at our general number 281-403-8500. So we can still answer some of your questions regarding power and other things that as we come to learn that. So that's all I have. I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. Good night.